Chapter 1. The Stop. The afternoon sun baked the pavement of an ordinary American street, lined with sycamores, brick storefronts, and a distant hum of lawnmowers. It was a Tuesday. Quiet. Predictable. Until a black Chevy Tahoe slowed and pulled into a no-parking zone outside a small corner bakery. A man stepped out. He wore a perfectly pressed U.S. Army service uniform, medals glittering on his chest. The sun bounced off his silver star and distinguished service cross. His shoes, mirror-polished. His posture, rigid with pride. He had served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria. But on this street, in this town, all some people saw was a tall black man stepping out of an expensive vehicle. Marcus Washington adjusted his cover, straightened his belt, and glanced down at his phone. A meeting with a retired platoon mate had brought him here. He was early, always was. Then came the sirens. A white cruiser screeched to a halt behind his SUV. A young officer, barely out of academy, face flushed, burst out, hand already near his holster. "Hands where I can see them!" he shouted. Washington froze, slowly raising his arms. "Officer, there's no need for that. Step away from the vehicle!" His voice cut like glass. Marcus obeyed, hands still raised, expression calm. The badge on his chest caught the officer's eye. "What is this, Halloween?" the officer sneered, closing the distance fast. "Another black man in a costume?" Before Washington could answer, the officer slammed him against the cruiser. The cold metal kissed his cheek. Cuffs clamped down on his wrists so tight that his skin broke open. Blood trickled down his palms. His phone slipped from his hand and skidded across the sidewalk. With a sick crunch, the officer stepped on it. "Check the plates," he barked at his partner, still seated in the cruiser. "This vehicle's probably stolen." The partner hesitated. They match. Registered to a Marcus L. Washington." "And that's supposed to mean something?" the officer snapped. "These types always use fake IDs." Marcus clenched his jaw. "Sergeant Major," he said quietly. "Retired. Third in command of United States Army operations." The officer laughed. "Yeah? And I'm the Queen of England." The cuffs didn't budge. More blood, more silence. Then static crackled. Inside the crumpled phone, hidden beneath the shattered screen, an emergency signal had been triggered. One that routed directly through the Pentagon's internal satellite channels. One that required no voice, just biometric pressure and fingerprint match. A red beacon blinked on a secure desk in D.C. Inside the nerve center of national security, a woman in uniform glanced at her screen. Her eyes widened. Alpha 7 protocol initiated. She picked up the red phone. Chapter 2. The signal. Deep beneath the Pentagon, in a secure command operations room with no windows and 2-foot-thick walls, the buzz of activity never ceased. Phones rang, screens flickered, keys clacked, until suddenly, everything stopped. A crimson alert pulsed on the primary display. Alpha 7 protocol initiated. Origin, Washington, Marcus L. Lieutenant General Retty B. Status, National Asset, Threat Level. Elevated Captain Leona Park, a seasoned analyst with sharp eyes and a sharper sense of urgency, didn't hesitate. She reached for the line. "Get me the Secretary of Defense, now." Across multiple military bases, high-ranking officials were pulled from meetings, sleep, and silence. The Alpha 7 protocol wasn't just a flare, it was a distress beacon from someone who, by law, was still under federal protection, a living military legend, one of the last men entrusted with launch codes. While Marcus bled silently against a police cruiser, a Black Hawk helicopter fired up on the tarmac at Fort Myer. Armor-clad soldiers moved with precision. 2 secure SUVs rolled out from Langley with convoy clearance. And at the National Military Command Center, screens displayed a live satellite feed of a quiet city street. "Who's that with him?" asked one general, pointing to the grainy image of the arrest. "That officer, he's not military. Local PD. Then someone better tell him he just laid hands on the wrong man, said another, because this is about to get loud. Meanwhile, back on the street, Marcus winced as the officer shoved him lower. You deaf or just slow? The officer muttered, twisting the cuffs tighter. You people never learn. Marcus's jaw flexed. Still, he said nothing. The partner exited the cruiser at last, holding a tablet with real-time identity verification. His face drained of color. Officer Green, you need to see this. Green scoffed. What now? He glanced at the tablet, and his smirk faltered. Marcus Washington, Lieutenant General, 3 decades of service, top security clearance. There was a beat of silence. He's decorated, the partner added. Green looked back at Marcus, the uniform suddenly too real. The medals no longer just shiny props. He took a step back. Why didn't you say something? Marcus raised his eyes, calm but cutting. Because I shouldn't have to. That was when the air above them changed. The deep, rhythmic whoop-whoop of helicopter blades approached fast. People stepped out of shops. Phones came out. A crowd began to form. A matte black military chopper descended above the rooftops. Soldiers rappelled down in seconds, securing the area with swift, calculated movements. Civilians were guided back. Officers were separated. Marcus was uncuffed, carefully by gloved hands, and a medic tended to his wrists. Officer Green stood frozen, now surrounded by a wall of military uniforms. Then a camera clicked. Across the street, a young Asian journalist had captured the whole scene on live stream. Her voice was steady, eyes burning with purpose. This is Kara Liu reporting live outside Jefferson Avenue, she said. A black military hero detained during a routine stop. But this wasn't routine. This was personal. And now the world is watching. Chapter 3. The Cover-Up. Inside the Jefferson Police Department, the air was thicker than usual. The station buzzed with tension as Chief Doyle entered the room, jaw tight, eyes scanning every face. He slammed a folder on the table. Someone tell me why the hell I'm getting calls from the Pentagon. No one answered. Footage from Kara Liu's live stream had already gone viral. Within an hour, hashtags flooded every major platform. # Justice for Washington, #, he fought for us, #, not just another traffic stop officer. Green sat in the break room, staring at the grainy replay of himself slamming Marcus against the cruiser. No edits, no cuts, just the truth. Meanwhile, in a church basement on the south side of town, Marcus sat quietly. His wrists bandaged, his uniform cleaned. Veterans from every war, black, white, brown, gathered around him. He never raised his voice, said an old Marine. He didn't have to, murmured another. His presence said enough. Cameras waited outside the church, journalists asking for interviews. But Marcus didn't rush. He simply stood, walked to the front of the hall, and placed a single photo on the lectern. An image of his unit in Fallujah, black and white soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder. I fought for all of them, he said quietly. And I didn't wear this uniform to be seen. I wore it to serve. The crowd stood. Back at the precinct, damage control had already begun. Internal memos were flying. A drafted statement read, "The incident is under review. We support our officers while also respecting due process and transparency." But Kara Liu wasn't letting go. She reported outside the station, umbrella in one hand, mic in the other. Behind her, a growing group of protesters held signs. "A uniform doesn't erase our color. Veterans deserve justice. He protected us. Who protects him?" A white official tried to speak to the press. He stuttered over hollow words. Then, from the edge of the crowd, a soft but commanding voice rose. "You tried to bury it." Everyone turned. Marcus stood tall in the rain, his voice clear and low. "But this soil is too rich with truth, and truth grows roots." The silence that followed was louder than any siren. Reporters turned toward him. Veterans closed ranks beside him. Black mothers stood behind him. And in homes across the country, screens glowed with the face of a man who'd once walked deserts in enemy fire, now fighting a different kind of war. Chapter 4. The Reckoning. The rain stopped, but the storm had only just begun. By dawn, over 2 million viewers had replayed the footage. National networks ran the story under banners like "General Profiled at Gunpoint," "The Stop That Shook the Pentagon," "America, Look in the Mirror." In Washington, D.C., Senate hearings were quietly being prepared. Civil rights lawyers filed formal complaints. Meanwhile, inside a private briefing room at the Pentagon, General Marcus Washington stood before a panel of military officials, calm as ever. He recounted every detail, not with bitterness, but precision. When they asked what he wanted, he didn't ask for revenge. He asked for reform. National accountability protocols, mandatory racial bias training for all law enforcement, and federal protection for decorated veterans of color. "They carry medals on their chests," he said, "but targets on their backs." The room was still. Elsewhere, Officer Green's badge was quietly suspended, his record under internal review. His partner resigned, but Marcus's fight was never just about them. It was about something bigger, deeper, unfinished. Weeks later, he returned to the same city block, same SUV. This time, no sirens, no guns, just a crowd waiting, veterans, families, children holding cardboard signs with hand-drawn stars and stripes. At the steps of a community hall, he took the mic. "I was told once that in America, justice wears a blindfold, that it sees no race, no rank, just right and wrong." He looked out over the crowd. "But I've learned justice isn't blind. She's looking, watching, waiting for people like you to remind her what she's supposed to be." Applause thundered. Inside, they unveiled a mural. It showed General Washington not in combat, but in cuffs, standing tall. Behind him, the faces of black soldiers across generations. Above them, painted words, "They tried to silence a soldier." Instead, they sparked a movement. And just below the image, a new plaque now hung on the wall of the Jefferson Police Department. "To protect and serve all citizens equally."